Up next on this week's Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show, the action is hot as always down on Santee for the FLW Rayovac Series, and Vance McCullough has a report from the St. Johns River in Florida covering the Bassmaster Elite Series. We head to a windy Clarks Hill Lake for the Oakley Big Bass Tournament and follow up with the Angler's Choice Marine Team Trail as they take on Kerr Bugs Island Lake. That, as well as our Sportsman's Warehouse product spotlight, it's all headed your way next.
The Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show.
Thanks for watching this week. I'm John Byrne. Beautiful Clarks Hill Lake near Augusta, Georgia is where we caught up with the Oakley Big Bass Tournament Trail. And if you remember, the Oakley format offers anglers a chance to weigh in and cash in each hour with a $1,000 big fish prize and a chance to win the overall big fish prize of a new boat motor trailer package. Anglers were bringing in some great catches over the two-day tournament with the top 7 weights each hour paying out.
We need 487 to get you in the top. Oh, look at this. Here we go. 614. We got a big bass later. Guess what? You got $1,000 coming your way. How's that?
That's good.
Grab that fish, hold it high. That's the way to play the big bass game right there. Wait until the last minute. Anglers get text messages on the hour, or they'll use the Oakley Big Bass Store app so they have an idea what's been brought to the scale, and that is excellent strategy. He's got a nice fish. Take a run at the top spot this hour. Look at this. Lock it down, 780, and you've got the big bass lead for hour number 5. Grab that fish, hold it high.
Oh, it's real windy out there. White capping, rough water. Got the big one. We caught on spittle bait.
It's been tough today. We've caught 2 decent fish, 2 5-pounders. Both of them come early this morning. One on the jig, one on the spinnerbait. The wind was blowing this morning and it's settled down a lot, but it's a bluebird day, so it's a lot tougher than yesterday.
Yeah, this is my 4th Oakley tournament. Did real well. I think I had about 13 fish altogether. Just couldn't get a big one. Kept on seeing the weigh-ins, and man, I tell you what, that's amazing. We think Gunnersville was some big weights, but this was something else, to be honest with you. I could not believe the weights that I heard come in, especially yesterday. I mean, it was just 8-pounders. I don't know how many 8-pounders I heard come in, but had to been at least 13 or 14 at least. But I think the format of this tournament is as good as any. It's exciting. It gives everybody a chance. You ain't fishing for 5, you're fishing for 1 fish.
Jeff Oliver brought in a nice fish to win 2nd in the final hour.
Feels like a good fish. Let's see what you got. Nice job, 740.
Man, it has been tough. The wind's been blowing probably 25, 30 miles an hour a day, and I committed myself just to stay on the main lake and just fish a jig slow. And that last 15 minutes, I mean, it was run and gun all the way back.
Just after Jeff weighed in, Danny Coggins came in to win the final hour.
See what we got here in the bag. Oh, look at this. Wow, 830. That was close to taking that overall big bass lead. Once again, we've had about 8 fish in this range. Grab that fish, hold it up. Clarks Hill's definitely kicked out some great fish over the last 2 days. This has been one incredible fishery this weekend.
You know, with the wind like it was, I knew that there was going to be a lot of people staying in here. And there was a lot of traffic in here. So I came up at 10:30, asked them could I take out a trailer somewhere else. They said, sure, you can do that. So I trailered up Little River, Georgia, put in, and I caught that fish about 10 minutes after I put in. 3rd cast.
Kevin Ashley's 8.99 big fish bass was the top catch, and he took home the new $30,000 boat motor trailer package. Not a bad couple of days. When we come back, FLW action from South Carolina on Santee, plus our Sportsman's Warehouse product spotlight of the week featuring Mark Menendez and our own Vance McCullough. Stay with us.
This portion of the Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show is presented by Progressive, a leader in boat insurance. Brought to you by Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. See for yourself by going to rangerboats.com, and by your local Sportsman's Warehouse, featuring quality Rapala baits, lures, apparel, and more.
Hey everyone, welcome back. You know, they call them South Carolina's Great Lakes, and that would be Lake Moultrie and Lake Marion, better known as Santee Cooper Country. This 171,000-acre reservoir is known for large bass with acres of cypress trees, flooded swamps, deep pockets, grass, lily pads, you name it, and it hosted the FLW Rayovac Tour just a few weeks ago. Angler Ronnie McCoy has this report from the water.
Well, we're here today on Santee Cooper, day 3 of the Rayovac Series tournament, Saturday. Conditions have been changing all week. The lake level on the lower lake has been low. It started coming up. On top of that, on Thursday, the first day, the winds were sustained at 15 miles an hour all the way to gusts of 30, so it made it extremely tough for anglers going to the lower lake. And as well, the areas you could fish on the upper lake, and I think that's why the weights were off a little bit. However, some anglers really caught fish. There was one guy had 31 pounds on the first day, Clint Davis, and I'm Ronnie McCoy, and I had 25 pounds. I did brave it and go to the lower lake and ended up with 4 good fish, but overall the weights for this time of the year are a little bit off. The fish should be really on the beds now. The moon's right, the timing's right. I think just the fluctuating water levels and possibly this cold snap we had earlier in the week, and then Thursday night it got down into the 20s, you know, upper 20s, so I think that put a damper on the bite. However, these anglers are figuring out how to catch them. We finally caught up with the Chevy boat, Brian Thrift. It's about 2 o'clock. Don't know how many he has. He's throwing an Alabama rig. We're in the mouth of Utah Creek, and maybe he'll catch one. It seems like everybody today is fishing for pre-spawn fish, so it's kind of follow suit to the rest of the anglers we've seen and talked to. Now, FLW rules are you can throw 5 wires, 5 baits, but only 3 hooks. So I'm sure it's interesting to understand and tactically decide which baits will be the ones you'll have the hooks on.
As the anglers gathered at the Walmart in Manning to weigh in this final day, tournament director Ron Lappin had a few words about the week.
I want you to look over there in those tanks, folks. That's about as rough a bunch of looking guys as I've ever seen in my life. And I guarantee you, you'd have thought this was a football game this week. This has been a contact sport. This lake has beat them up from one end to the other. But somebody is going to be crowned champion here this afternoon. I want to introduce to you our leader. He had 31 pounds and 13 ounces at the end of 2 days. As a matter of fact, yesterday. He's your leader. Let's bring him up here with a big round of applause. Marvin Reese, let's give him a big round of applause.
How you doing today, man?
Now, I'm not a social media person, but a pharmacist in Western Kentucky called and said there's bidding on the internet to go with Mr. Thornhill next time we have a tournament here. So you got to be part of that yesterday and again today. That's pretty awesome.
You know, he told me when I got on the boat with him yesterday that he was a god. He fishes for everything on the lake. He knew a lot of good spots. He thought we would get on him pretty good, and sure enough, we did. So definitely around big fish the whole time.
Clint Davis gave us a little tip on how he caught his 16-pound bag.
I've caught all my fish on one bait all week, and I haven't planed my boat out. I haven't left the boat ramp. I never got a bite in practice, so I just put the trolling motor down and swam a jig just as fast as I could and, you know, cover as much water as I could, and that's how I've caught all of my fish all week.
At the end of the day, it was co-angler Marvin Reese taking home first place on the co-angler side with a whopping 64.7 pounds for the 3 days, which got him a brand new Ranger Z17. And taking the top prize on the boater side with $40,000 was local legend Linwood Thornhill, who finished up with 72.4. As always, folks, great weights from down on Santee Cooper. You know, you can follow the results from FLW and many other tournaments by logging on to anglerschannel.com. Now it's time for our Ranger Boats Question of the Week. This week's question: how many rods can the legendary Ranger 520C Comanche hold inside locked compartments? Find the answer to this question by logging on to mydreamrig.com and then click on any of the Ranger icons, scroll down and find your answer along with loads of other Ranger facts. Up next, Vance McCullough and Strike King Pro Mark Menendez check out the Cutter Worm on Kentucky Lake, plus action from Kerr Bugs Island, North Carolina, and the Elite Series from the St. Johns River in Florida when we return.
Today's show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Just ask Flo. She knows how to save on boat insurance. Sponsored by Evinrude, proven power, proven reliability. By Buckeye Lures, specializing in custom-made baits. And by Stratos Boats. Inspiration runs deep.
Now it's time for our Sportsman's Warehouse product spotlight of the week. And our own Vance McCullough is with Bassmaster Elite Series Pro Mark Menendez talking about the Cutter Worm.
Hey, Vance here with Mark Menendez, Strike King Pro, Bassmaster Elite Series veteran. And you're going to talk to us a little bit about one of your favorite Strike King lures right here today.
This is a new one that I'm fishing right here, Vance. And doggone, it's on tour, I've got so much stuff in my truck. So I'm trying to find a way to consolidate that and carry baits that have multiple tasks. So that's that much less, that's better gas mileage. It's a heck of a lot easier to organize. I mean, this old head of mine, I got so much in there anyway. But it's a bait that does multiple things. And it's a new bait for 2014. It's called a Cutter Worm. And this is in the Rage line. And it's pretty simple looking. It's a nice little bodied worm. Got a little flat kind of, I'll call it the Dipsy-Doo tail. And it's got that nice little Rage flange on it. So it's got a lot of vibration. It gives you the opportunity to fish this bait traditionally, pitching it in grass, pitching it in cover, as a soft plastic bait. But this has become my new spinner bait. That little tail says, has a nice little vibration to it. Got a 1/4 ounce sinker, a straight shank, about a number 4/0 worm hook. I'm throwing it on a 7-foot 4-inch Team Lose rod with the new BB1 Pro, and I'm using between 12 and 20-pound Seagar and VizX line. The line size I use depends on how much cover, if it's a real heavy cover, or if I'm on Lake Seminole or I'm at Guntersville where they tend to grow a little bigger, I'll go ahead and put some bigger string on it. But the cool thing is the way I fish it. I throw it out and I wind it back in. Now, how often do you do that with a plastic worm? Make the cast, throw it at a target, and I simply just wind. That little tail, it's a plastic spinnerbait. You know, look at today. It's postcard weather here. It's high and blue. It'd be pretty hard to get a bite on a spinnerbait today. But the fish, it's a fall situation we're in. They're set up on isolated pieces of cover. And when this little small, subtle bait comes thumping by them, it's just like a spinnerbait. The bite's really cool. It's just a boop. Or your line just takes off and heads south with it.
So you just set the hook like a regular worm hook set or like a spinnerbait?
Well, I tend to sweep it just like a spinnerbait hook set. This long 7-foot 4-inch rod gives me the opportunity to get a lot of that up. But it comes in multiple different colors. You know, this is a June bug. I've had great success on red bug, which is a lighter purple with green flake in it. All your typical worm colors. When I'm around bluegill, I tend to want to throw watermelon reds and green pumpkins in cleaner water like that, but in a little bit dirtier water, more of an opaque presentation is a great deal. And this is a Cutter Worm from Strike King, a new bait that I'm telling my secrets with you guys.
You want to go buy more of Mark Menendez's secret Strike King lures, go check out your local Sportsman's Warehouse.
Thanks, Vance. We would like to take a minute to offer our condolences to Mark and his family with the recent passing of his wife, Donna, who battled pancreatic cancer. We wish the Menendez family the best of luck, and our thoughts and prayers are with them always. The Angler's Choice Team Trail hit the waters of Kerr Bugs Island Lake in North Carolina for the second tournament of their series this year. Sponsored by Angler's Choice Marine in Martinsville, Virginia, and in Lexington, North Carolina, this trail has seen explosive growth over the past few years, so much that last year they divided the trail into 2 divisions, a North Carolina and Virginia division. We had the privilege to be on the water with tournament anglers Bill Goots and Leroy Miller.
I'm Bill Goots. My partner is Leroy Miller. We've been fishing Angler's Choice for, 3rd year? It's a good trail. You can see by the participants. There ought to be one on this bank. 2 hours to get 2 fish. You don't think it'd be that hard. Here we go. Oh, missed him. Get him, Leroy.
I guess I'll have to.
We'll get one on film here after a while.
And it wasn't long before Bill's promise came true.
There he is, get the net. It's a pretty good one.
Get him up.
He ain't all that good. He might keep.
I don't know.
I doubt. I doubt.
Come out there, shade bass.
It's pretty good.
Good job.
Yeah. That's what we're looking for, though.
Time to head to the weigh-in where tournament director Chris Lucas was busy weighing in the day's catch.
Boat number 3 is Mike Bryant and Ed Clayton. They have a 5-fish limit. 5 alive, 10.10 pounds. 5 alive, 10.17 pounds, 10.17. Next up to the scales, this may be the one we've been looking for, Damian Long. Boat 212. This is Raymond Stocking. Did I say that right, Raymond? And Brian Morgan. They have 5 fish. It's a nice bag of fish. 19.35 pounds. That may put him in second.
At the end of the day, Chris Ritchie and George Boss battled through to win over $7,000.
We've been struggling the first part of the day, every day that we've got to practice, but today we did catch our big fish early. So that gave us enough confidence where we could keep beating. And about all of our fish either come on a jig or a spinnerbait about 6 inches long. So, you know, we covered a lot of water. We didn't stay anywhere long. We kept moving because we had to. You know, we didn't have a place that we could just load the boat. We had to work for them, old-fashioned way.
It worked. Stay up to date on the latest happenings with the Angler's Choice Team Trail and other tournaments across the country by logging on to anglerschannel.com. We check in with our own Vance McCullough down on the St. Johns River in Florida for the Bassmaster Elite Series right after the break.
You're watching the Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show, presented by Progressive Insurance, a leader in boat insurance. Sponsored by Snagproof, supplying anglers since 1961. By Ranger Boats, by Evan Root, by Buckeye Lures, by Stratus Boats, and by Sportsman's Warehouse.
The Bassmaster Elite Series was down on the St. Johns River in Palatka, Florida, and our own Vance McCullough was on hand to file this report.
Thanks, John. I'm down here in Palatka, Florida on the St. Johns River. We're going to follow some of these guys and see how they do. I think they'll be doing a lot of sight fishing down here. The fish are on the beds. They usually are in March. We'll see if there's some other techniques that come into play this week, but should be a good tournament down here in Palatka, Florida. Along its 300-plus mile course, the St. Johns River features innumerable creeks and backwaters and connected lakes. It's hard to beat the relaxing scenery of the St. Johns River, but with a 6-figure payday at stake, North Carolina's Britt Myers wishes he was having just a little bit more fun. Kevin Hawk has his head on a swivel, his eyes open, and his body covered up from the sun as he scans the flats on Lake George. Back at the weigh-in, a crowd of thousands is ready to see some big St. Johns River bass. They were not disappointed. Alton Jones brought fans to their feet with this big bass.
I was sharing water with a couple of different guys that made the top 12 this week in an area down there around Willow Cove that had just a lot of fish in it. Yesterday, the winds turned out of the northwest and started blowing and really dingied that water up, and the bites shut down. I mean, you could go through there and get lots of bites, and then after that, you couldn't hardly get any bites at all. And so I was really fortunate to catch what I caught, but it has been a great week. And thank y'all so much for just sharing your river with us.
Chris Lane had a stretch of water to himself. On day 2, he brought in a whopping 37-pound sack that put him out front, and he never turned loose of the lead.
15 pounds, even with 90 pounds, 13 ounces.
stay focused, put my power pulls down, and just really catch fish, and it worked. And I stayed with it all day, and I knew that 15 pounds was really my goal, honestly, because I would much rather have $100,000 than a Century Club and have 100 pounds. They both would have been nice, but I was after one. And to be qualified for the Classic is fantastic.
Well, there you have it. 4 days, 90+ pounds. Chris Lane is your Bassmaster Elite Series champion. Stop number 2, 2014, here in Palatka, Florida.
Thanks, Vance, and congratulations to Chris Lane on his big win. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show. For more tournaments, product reviews, and all the fishing information you need, go to www.anglerschannel.com, and we'll see you next week.